Welcome to Late Night Riders. On this episode, we talk with Nichole McCaig.
She's not only a mother and a horse owner, but a real estate agent for Equestrian Farms.
She tells us about how to get your property ready to sell and what to look for when you're looking at horse properties.
I think you'll like it. It's interesting.
Enjoy! Welcome to Late Night Riders. I'm Gretchen, and I'm joined by my grandma Debbie and Nichole.
Hi, Nichole.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Nichole,
So glad you're here.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into horses?
Sure. So my mom got her first horse in, I don't know what year it was, in the 60s as a teenager. And so I came right into the world and had horses basically instantly. My first pony was a pony that just showed up at the farm. No one claimed him. So my mom and dad just said, all right, we already have horses. We're just going to keep this pony as well. And Sonny was my first pony at the farm, and he's pretty much the one that got me started and everything.
Yeah. So did your mom show or like have any, or was it just more like a hobby thing?
It was definitely just more of a hobby for my mom. She did do a little bit of 4-H, but basically just riding with her friends as a teenager and then as an adult.
Awesome. So then from that point, you had your pony and then you started showing yourself.
I did. I started showing 4-H at first. My mom didn't really know a whole lot about showing, so that was the way to kind of get that gradual start in there. I think my first showmanship pattern, I led him on the wrong side the entire time. So that, it was a great experience. I think it's a really good way for kids to get a good start in it. A lot has changed with 4-H. It's a lot more competitive than I was first in it a long time ago. But, I can speak really highly for the program and kids just getting an early start.
I agree. I agree with that too. So he must have been a pretty good pony though. And how long did you have him for then?
We had him until the day he died. I mean, we're kind of one of those families.
Kept him forever and rode him for how long or showed him for how long?
So, I'm trying to think. I think he lived until he was about 35.
Oh my goodness.
So I think they said when we found him, he wasn't too old. I would guess we probably had him at least 25 years, and I was really young when we got him, probably a toddler.
So when did you move up then into another, or when did that happen about maybe?
I did. It's kind of a funny story. The second pony I had, when we first pulled her out of the trailer at the horse show, everyone gasped. They were like, oh my gosh, you bought your young daughter this pony. Little did we know she had a reputation because the prior people used her as a gymkhana pony.
Okay.
Which I had never done gymkhana. I just rode English, Western, did the showmanship. And so everyone laughed. They were like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe, they bought that pony for her.
The pony, right? The pony.
The pony. Nothing was ever easy for me and my ponies. She turned out to be an excellent pony. I showed her all through 4-H. I did pony club with her. We went down to Kentucky for festival. And when she refused the jumps down there and threw me off, Richard Lamb, who's he was 6 feet tall, hopped on my 13-2 pony and schooled her for me. And, and then after that, I got into horses. My mom bought me a mare. I did a little bit of pinto. Then we bought a gelding, and that was the gelding that I ended up traveling much more heavily with and competing at a higher level. He's the one who really got me into the more competitive level of showing, and that was with pintos, and then eventually I went on to paints.
Nice.
So
you had quite a few. So that's wonderful because you learned so much from each one then. So, and a lot of showing.
Right. I mean, I can honestly say that most of the horses we bought up until like the higher level, I mean, they needed a lot of work, and that's how I learned. That's how I, became a good rider and really understood, how to get these horses trained and have a good time showing them. And then, at the higher level, we did purchase some horses that were much more trained and, had a little bit of a show career on their record. But in the beginning, yeah, it was
a humble start and
it
a good
was a
start.
humble
good start.
Yes, yes.
So at what point did you get into real estate?
So I graduated from Eastern Michigan University, and I have a degree in marketing with a concentration in advertising.
Okay.
So one of my aunts was working for a real estate company at the time, and they needed someone to help them out with their marketing. So I went on and I helped her out, worked for her a little bit, and then I decided to get my real estate license in 2006. So 2006 to 2009, I worked for a local brokerage in Ann Arbor, focused primarily on residential. And then my husband and I opened Visible Homes in 2009. And then we primarily focused on residential and luxury homes until about 2014. I started doing more and more farms, and then from 2014 to 2016 really just built that equestrian book of business. And then in 2016, you know, we tallied things up and we're like, wow, we sold more equestrian properties than any other group in the state of Michigan. And then I did that again 2016, 2017, 2018, obviously 2019 is not over yet. So
And you've seen quite a change in the market from that time too. You know, from, you know, a bit of a slump to really, you know, taking off, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, there's definitely been a lot of changes in the market, in the economy. We've been through a lot. The one thing about the farms, though, you know, it's like once a person's a horse person, they tend to stay a horse person. So, you know, there is always a demand for the farms. There's and another thing to consider is it's not necessarily the normal cycle of real estate. You think that you know, with regular residential, there's this huge spring market boom. But what we found with the equestrian people is, you know, a lot of people are breeding their mares, they're getting ready for show season, they're foaling out, you know, having their foals. And so there's a lot of horse people that are actually really busy in the spring. You know, summer, fall right now is actually a really busy time for our horse properties.
We're so glad you could be here. That's so nice then. Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me. But it doesn't necessarily follow the normal pattern. And even during the winter, I mean, you wouldn't think that, but there's a lot of people that will buy horse farms during the winter. And it's important to have that marketing set up ahead of time, you know, so people can actually see what's under the snow. In Michigan, you know, Michigan and Ohio, it's like we do have our seasons. So. And
you're primarily around the Ann Arbor area or even further than Michigan, then you're saying?
So our license is good in the state of Michigan. I service about a 2-hour radius of Ann Arbor. Any further out than that, we have a really good referral network. So whether it's Michigan, Ohio, across the country, we have agents that are knowledgeable with equestrian properties that we can send referrals to. And that's actually one of the reasons that we started a coaching company as well. We're launching a coaching company right now to help other agents that want to tap into that equestrian market in their area. So we're doing that nationwide right now, and just getting that
That's
launched.
really exciting.
It is. You know, it started off just as a thought. A couple years ago, I kept getting calls from agents all over the country, and they were like, "How did you get your start? How did you do this? How did you start building this equestrian following that you have and getting these properties?" And then we said, you know what? I bet there's a market for a coaching program to help other people out with an equestrian background. So
that's really cool.
Yeah,
that's neat. And you have your booklet that you brought that's beautiful, with gorgeous farms in it, just beautiful. And you were talking about, like, you kind of primarily talk about different farms that different people are looking at, and kind of you find different people looking for different things. So you have maybe about 3 different groups that you kind of primarily, I mean, maybe can say this is what they might be looking and fit in this area or this area then?
Right. So when we start working with a buyer, it's almost like an interview process to talk to them, to find out what their needs are, what they're looking for. Generally, people fall into 3 different categories. A hobby farm. Okay. You know, and that's just pretty self-explanatory. They're just doing it as a hobby. They want to have their horses on site. Maybe they don't want to spend the money boarding anymore. There's equestrian estates, which are luxury home with high-end equestrian amenities.
Okay.
And then there's the facilities, which are more, people who want to have a boarding business or they want to run a training barn, something like that. Those are the ones that are, heavily weighted and almost, they virtually always have indoor arenas, lots of stalls. Some of them are located close to state land. We have a lot of equestrian trails in Michigan.
Yeah.
So, that's for any category, whether it's hobby farms, luxury, the equestrian estates, or the facilities. It may be important to a buyer that they are close enough that they can ride to equestrian trails. And most of them, if you can't ride, then there's something that's within a short trailer hauling distance. So, but yeah, we usually try and just ask buyers what's important to them, which category they fall in, work within their budget to see if we can meet all their needs, if there's a property out there that exists. And if it doesn't, then you can kind of look at their long-term goals. Okay, well, maybe this property doesn't have an indoor arena now, but does it have a nice big flat piece of land that sometime, potential exactly. Same thing, with an outdoor arena. Maybe it doesn't have it now, but if the space is there and the people have the means to do it, can you make it work? Because no two equestrian properties are the same, and it is hard to find exactly what someone is looking for.
Right.
So
when you start to speak to the people who are looking at saying that they want to ride, or they're showing a little bit more, so they're talking about an indoor, are there certain things that you see more of a person asking for? Does it kind of fall more into the category, yes, I need to have that indoor, or yes, I need to have specific things? Are they looking for things already there, or or is it pretty much you find you can go ahead and fit them with the property, and then, like you said, the potential, or they kind of say, yes, these are the things that we're looking for, and you find that those are the kind of the same essential things that they're...
Yeah, it's definitely, there definitely comes up times when someone says they have to have an indoor. And being in Michigan, we do get some really hard winters. And if people want to ride year-round, then it is important to have an indoor arena. It's not important to everyone. We do get some clients that have a pretty strict list. I would say, each individual is so different.
I know. That's what we say.
I've got a client right now. She's buying a 3-acre equestrian property, and she can ride right off the property to a connector trail to state land. And it's not a big deal to her whether it even has a barn on the property. Right. She's like, I can put up a run-in. Location is important.
Yes.
So it really just depends on the individual. I can't say that there's specifics that come up with the majority of people. There's some people that say, we need at least 40 stalls, and we need at least 40 acres. And there's other people, like I said, I've got clients that as long as it has a couple acres and they can keep their couple horses on it within the township guidelines, then, they are just happy doing that.
Now, do you feel that people are more concerned about, like, the barn or facilities, or, like, the actual home itself? Because I know as equestrians,
It is a very good question, and there are a lot of circumstances where we will go in the barn first, and they will say, we really don't care what the house looks like. Let's go in the barn first, and let's check that out. Because they do want to make sure that their horses have all the amenities they need, and there are people that will tough it out, whether a bathroom is completely demoed and needs to be remodeled, in the house, they don't care. They'll live without their bathroom for 2 years if the horses have everything they need. So, and that is a common occurrence with horse people, is they do put the horse amenities first, and they will put themselves second. And then, there's other people that, they do need the luxury amenities for their family, and the barn is secondary. And, it may just be a small basic barn with some pasture, and they want a nice big luxury home. So, but there's definitely some circumstances like you asked.
So we're talking about the person who's purchasing. What about the person that's selling then? So are there things that you talk to the person about in the that aspect of it when they come to you and say, hey, I'm looking to sell this, and are there things that you help that person with then?
Absolutely. So I think one of the important things about getting a horse property sold is the marketing on it. So, we try to make sure that our photos, our videos, everything show the property at its best. If your weeds are long in the pasture, I might suggest someone getting out there with a brush hog, mowing the pastures, fixing up any fences. I mean, as you guys know, fencing is very, very important to horse people. So if there are boards down or if the fence is in ill condition, I may say, can we do anything about this? And financially, not everybody's going to be able to go to extremes, but basic things such as just making sure that the fences are safe for the horses, making sure that the barns are clean, making sure the aisleways are swept, that your tack rooms are organized. We like to take photos and market everything. I mean, I think that's one of the things that sets us apart. We try to show everything that's so important to horse people. A lot of the people that are buying farms aren't necessarily out there actively looking for farms. So that's what we use. We use our marketing to reach an audience, and they see our farms and they're like, oh, wow, like I don't have to board my horses anymore. I can go live there. And they might not have their ducks in a row right away, but they put the wheels in motion to then go buy the farms. So really it comes down to the marketing, making sure that the property's mowed. You might need to weed whip around the barn so we can get some great photos showing without any weeds there. Organizing and cleaning. Cobwebs. Who thinks about their cobwebs, up in their aisleway? But they show in the photos and they show in the showings. So not only do you have to focus on your videos and your photos, but when you have a buyer come through your property, you want to make sure everything is clean and presentable, and just looks its best. So, and that goes along with the house as well. I mean, you can't just leave the house and clean the barn. They will go through your house as well. So
if somebody is looking to sell their farm, is there, I know this is a really tough question because it's just every individual farm, but is there an average that farms can be on the market, or that they can expect, like if they're getting ready to sell and they'd like to, go ahead and get, talk to you, are they expecting that this might sell within a certain period of time, or do you give them some kind of an idea, or is there just no idea? You just, go
No,
on?
you can definitely look at the data, look what's sold. Each area is going to be different. There's going to be some areas that sell a lot faster than others. So I think, looking at the data, and that's part of being educated and specializing in these sales, is I can look at things and I can say, okay, properties are moving in your area or your school district, or I can say things are a little bit slower in your area. In general, it is a niche market. It's a very small percentage of the buyers. So we usually try to prep our sellers for a year. I mean, and granted, there are markets that sell a lot faster than that, but to find that right buyer that appreciates all the amenities you have, it does sometimes take a year, and sometimes, it will take longer for a highly specialized property. But in general, we usually say to prep for 9 to 12 months.
Okay. And then in the either buying or selling then too, when you tell someone that looking for maybe that property, it's always, I hear location. So what would you tell someone if they're looking for something that they'd like to get maybe sooner, and then maybe down the road sell it? Where is a good place to look? I mean, what are you looking for? It depends, I suppose, like trails or what then?
Yeah, I mean, it depends too. Like if someone's planning on running a business there, is there a market for their type of riding in that area? If they want to have boarders, is there a demand? So really, it depends on what they're looking for. If it's someone who just wants to, if it's someone and their horses and they don't have any other factors involved in it, it's, does that property meet their needs right now? Are you getting it for what you would consider to be a good investment in the time period that you're going to sell it in? If it's a family and they're looking at something, they're going to want to look at the area. They're going to want to look at the school districts they're in. They're going to want to look at the activities for their families and their children, and is it a decent commute to work.
That's
you know,
true
so
too.
there's so many factors to consider. If someone's looking to run a training operation, you know, there's certain areas that are heavily weighted in eventers by us, or hunter jumpers, or trail riders, or even all around trainers in some of the breed circuits. You know, it just really depends on that individual. I can't really say specific areas for people to target, again, because it's another interview that you need to have with somebody to find out where they would work and be comfortable with.
And you're solely, I mean, with your business, it's house and farm, so you have to meet both of that criteria for them, which is a lot. That's a lot for you to do. So
now, what do people do with their horses when they're trying to sell their property, or do they leave their horses on the property, or at that point are they already like out? And like if they're a working barn, are there people in and out while you're like showing the property?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the properties, you know, people don't know where they're going next. You know, they haven't set up that next transaction. Maybe they need the money from their sale to get them to the next place that they're going. So a lot of times the properties are occupied. The horses are there. I work with the seller on when they could be ready for showings, whether it's a 24-hour notice, if they need longer than that, if there's tenants or boarders that we need to try and work around their schedule. But yeah, a lot of times it can be a complicated process just even getting a showing scheduled. But for the most part, you know, you just try and make everything work for everyone. And I'll put notes in the system. Don't touch the fence because it may be on, you know, or close any gates. I mean, plenty of agents that have shown my property, they know that I will put in there, close any gates that you go through. You know, and if there's horses that are out, you know, I'll put a note in there like, please do not enter any pastures where there are horses, or you know, don't touch the fence one. It's pretty funny because people that aren't horse people do not understand it, but people who are, they're like, oh yeah, okay, we're gonna take that one to heart.
Touch until you know. Exactly.
Oh
man,
wow.
Have you had any agents accidentally touch the fence? Is that why that?
Well, I had a buyer's agent that works for me. Loved her to death. She moved out of state, but she would always test the fence for us. Oh, no. It was great. We'd be like, okay, can you find out if that's on for us? And she would just do it.
Oh my!
She was a horse person. I mean, how many horse people? Everybody's touched electric fence before.
Yeah, we have.
And it just kind of became a joke.
Oh, that's funny.
She would test the fence for everyone.
Oh,
that's really
I bet you have a lot of stories about even the interesting customer stories as well too, with what they're doing with their horses, where they're headed with their horses. I mean, there's just so much that's involved with it.
Yeah, definitely. We've sold to some great properties, to some really great people. There was one gal who was from out of state. She's an up and coming rider that I'm sure she'll be destined for the Olympics someday. But her family came in and bought a really nice farm, and yeah, I mean, there's stories like that, and then there's stories like the family that the daughter was just taking riding lessons and they wanted to get out of a new construction subdivision, and their plan wasn't to have a horse for a while, but they found a farm on 14 acres, and sure enough, a little while later, they have horses. So there's great stories, you know, on a small scale and on a large scale.
And I'm sure with all your background with the horses too, having that person see the potential in something and saying, can you visualize this, or when this could go up, or whatever, if it's not exactly what they're looking for, I'm sure you help a lot with that as well too, because it's a big part of it.
It is. It's a big part of it. I think understanding, you know, the differences in outdoor arenas. If something's, you know, laser leveled and has a good base with good footing versus having an excavator come out, scrape off the grass and throw some sand down. You know, there's a difference in those. You know, I've had clients that have spent $140,000 on an outdoor arena, you know, and then I've had clients that, you know, I mean, they had someone scrape off the dirt and put down sand, and there is a huge difference in that long term and the maintenance of that. You know, and being able to advertise and convey that, you know, even when you talk about the barns and a barn having a wash rack with hot water,
Yes.
Your average person's not going to know that that's important to a horse person. You know, if there's an
Mm-hmm.
injury, if you need to soak a leg, you know, it is important for some of these barns to have hot water in it year round.
Right.
You know, and have good lighting in your indoor
Mm-hmm.
arena.
Right. And for people listening, are there things that you would say that, you know, make the barn or the home even nicer? Like if they're thinking, well, maybe down the road we might, things that you would say to consider that might be something that they might do and be thinking of in their future to do to their home or their barn?
Is there any
Same thing
unique that you've seen
Yeah,
that you're like,
you
that's
think
a good
this
idea?
is a good idea for people.
Well, it's funny that you guys asked that question because like fencing comes up a lot on the properties. You know, so I think if someone does have fencing that needs to be replaced or repaired, I think that is something that really is a good investment. You know, for someone to look into. As far as other amenities go for a barn, I mean, I think it's always important to have, you know, a barn that's safe for the horses.
Yeah.
People are gonna look at safety. So, you know, whether it's just a small barn that has good electric, has water, nice safe stalls for the horses, or if it's a huge facility, you know, that has all the extras for a facility. I mean, I think safety is really important for a lot of horse owners.
Yeah.
So
I would agree with that. So you are doing your new coaching services. How can people contact you to set that up, or you know, even talk to you about like buying in the Michigan area?
So they can go to our website, visiblehomes.com. We have a whole section equestrian. Equine Mogul is the coaching company, so there'll be links to that as well.
Cool.
You know, and all the information is really on our website. We pride ourselves on having everything accessible and easy to understand and getting the information that you want. We rolled out a new website earlier this year.
That's a big accomplishment. That's a lot.
Yeah, it was a pretty stressful.
People don't realize sometimes. Yeah,
it was a pretty stressful process, but we're really happy with the final result. So yeah, it would be great if people went to the website, checked it out, and if they are interested in any farms. All our farms are listed on there under featured listings. We're constantly getting more inquiries, more listing leads. I have an appointment tomorrow at a new listing that I'll be at. So, you know, I think it's just a matter of keeping up with that and then keeping up with our social media. We have a really great following.
That's how we found you.
Yeah, I'm like, I think that social media has played a big part in our success. I mean, I've sat at closing tables and I'll ask the buyer, you know, if the buyer comes in with another agent, I'll ask the buyer, how did you hear about this farm? And one situation, she was like, you know, all my friends kept tagging me in your post, and so we finally decided we needed to take a look at this, and sure enough, they bought it. You know, so it really is a powerful tool, and we try to do our best in letting people know what we have available and what amenities these farms have, because the MLS does not do farms justice. I mean, you have 1,000 characters to write a description, and it doesn't even have all the fields. I mean, you can put whether a property has an indoor arena on it, but that's it. You know, there's no field for how many stalls the barn has, or anything like that. So yeah, we've done a lot of advertising through our website and social media.
Have you seen an increase in people wanting, you know, more of the equestrian, you know, farms like this that you're talking about? They're beautiful homes and things, but have you seen more of an increase of people wanting more of the luxury home and the luxury barn too? Or, you know, are you seeing any trends or anything?
Well, I think that there are a lot of people realizing how expensive it is to board their horses. And if people have multiple horses, I mean, I talked to a lady recently, she's spending over $3,000 a month in board. And she said, my gosh, you know, I could buy a facility, run a business out of it, and if I break even, it makes sense. You know, if I don't have to pay the $3,000 a month to keep my horses, you know, so I think that there is a trend of people wanting the equestrian lifestyle of having their horses at home. there's always going to be a market for boarding. There's going to be people who just want to have their horses boarded. You know, maybe they just don't want, maybe they travel, maybe they have a complicated work schedule. But I think there is an increase of families who want to give their children that opportunity of having the horses and growing up with the responsibility and learning that work ethic. And then there's always trainers. There's always trainers looking to build their business and find the facilities. And, you know, and what's really been great is there's been a decent amount of land contracts available. So I think that's opened some doors for some people that maybe haven't had the mainstream financing options, but they're good qualified buyers. So yeah, I mean, I think there's an increase of people wanting to have this lifestyle and have their horses at home.
Well, awesome. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll enter our next segment, Canter Banter.
This podcast is brought to you by Ramm Horse Fencing and Stalls, the one-stop shop for your horse farm. Ramm is family-owned and operated and has been in business for over 30 years. We welcome you to call in and speak with an expert about your next project today at 866-653-8984. Again, that's 866-653-8984. Do you love horses and live the equestrian lifestyle? Be sure to check out our brand new blog at www.yourhorsefarm.com. We publish 3 posts per week and feature a free printable equine checklist every month. Yourhorsefarm.com is a great equine online resource, so be sure to share with all the horse lovers in your life. And remember, laugh much and ride often.
And we're back. On this segment of Canter Banter, Nichole is going to tell us a spooky story.
So when I was younger, my mom and I, we did the Shore to Shore trail ride in Michigan, and you'd ride about 26 miles a day. From one campground to the next, and these very narrow, winding trails sometimes. And my pony, the infamous Gymkhana pony that everyone was so astounded that my mom had actually bought her for me, she had an episode of gas and scared herself so significantly that she bolted down this path with me on her back, out of control. My mom and all her friends were hysterically laughing as I'm trying to get this pony under control for scaring herself with her own episode on
what
the
was
trails.
Her name?
So Cotton.
So Cotton scared herself.
Cotton was a wonderful pony. Lots of memories
That's
with
really
her.
funny.
So
How many people were you out with?
So our group was a small group. It was probably 6 of us, but there were so many people that did that ride. It was a huge community. I mean, it was Michigan Trail Riders Association. So yeah, it was a large.
Passed them all? Did you pass them all?
I'm sure I passed a fair amount of them. With my Gymkhana pony, she probably thought she was in the home stretch, running to that timer line. But yeah, Cotton was a great pony. Actually, my girls, I have Wes and I have 4 kids. Twin 13-year-olds, a 6-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and the 2-year-old keeps bringing me a picture of Cotton. I mean, she just brought it to me again yesterday, and it's Cotton in Lake Michigan rearing straight up. And I'm on her back, and her nose is going straight up in the air. So I should have brought that for you guys. I actually kind of forgot about it.
That's
until
too funny.
Nothing better than a good pony to break you in, right?
She was a great pony. She taught me so much, let me tell you.
Well, yay for Cotton.
Yeah.
She won the race.
Well, thank you so much for coming in and driving down Nichole. Here to be here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yes.
We hope you enjoyed listening to our podcast and encourage you to share with all your equestrian family and friends. You can tune into the Late Night Riders podcast show every Friday night. Each episode will be uploaded exclusively on YouTube, where you can subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with all of our latest shows. Do you have a topic you'd like to discuss? We want to hear from you. You may email us at podcast@rammfence.com or feel free to leave a comment below. Thank you again for listening.
Thank you, Nichole.
You're welcome.